in the early 90s.
Well, I mean, you're familiar with the area being from the 757 yourself, but Newport News, we always like to say, man, it's a little different with all the athletes that we brought up with. You got the Iversons, you got the Currys, the Ronald Currys, you got the Mike Vicks, the Aaron Brooks guys that I played with, and growing up, I met my good friend that we already discussed, David Macklin, and he was an athlete, I was an athlete. His dad coached the Little League, my dad coached the Little League, and we ended up gelling together because we were going on AAU tournaments together from age 7, 8, all the way up to our high school days. But that built that competitive drive in us because I went to Ferguson High School, he went to Minchfield High School, and it was every time we stepped on the court or stepped on the field, it was a battle, and those battles pretty much developed us into the men that we are now, and that competitive spirit and just wanting to do the best we can. So I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for growing up here in the 757 and being a student athlete.
That's funny. I'm glad you brought up D-Mac. I think the first time I met you guys, it was both the same year, probably in the summertime at Penn State football camp. Then me and D-Mac obviously went to Penn State, played together. A close friend of mine as well. Talked to him every now and then. And we met along with a bunch of other guys from the Hampton Roads area that was at that camp, and met Coach Mack, and good family, man, good people.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. And just to add, that being a student athlete and coming up the way we did, we had a chance because Chesapeake, Newport News, even though we call it across the water, you got to go across the bridge or tunnel, but it brought a lot of us together. Like I met like Arnie Powell from over that way. We ended up going to college together. Will Brooks, guys like that. That growing up as a young student athlete here, it built a lot of bridges amongst us. And now look at us now as adults, we still connected. So it definitely, like I said, I couldn't trade my experience as a young fella for nothing because it brought a lot of connections, brought a lot of relationships, and that I'm still utilizing to this day. So it definitely a different vibe when it comes to the 757.
Right. I tell people all the time. Speaking of Will Brooks, Will just moved back down that way. He was up here. And he came over the house. We had a house built up in Northern Virginia, so he came over, hung out. We met up a little bit, a few times. Get some dinner, get some drinks, have some lunch. Will, good dude. I met Will the same way playing AAU basketball. And he was in Green Run, living in Virginia Beach. And I think D-Mac was on our team too. So it was me, D-Mac, Will, Plex. I forgot Coach Fox. Coach Fox was our coach over in Williamsburg. Yeah. So we stayed the night over his house. Chris Fox. Chris played on the team as well.
Yeah, man. It was good days, man. Those guys, Marseille Brown,
Marseille, yeah.
We can go on calling names forever, but it's just, we're at that stage in our life now that we look back and reflect on all those times. And like I said, I wouldn't trade those times in for nothing.
Right. You end up going to East Carolina. Talk about the importance. You got a bachelor's degree from East Carolina. Let's talk about the importance. Football is good. Is a avenue or mode, a way to get out of a situation and use it as a stepping stone to be able to get get other goals or work towards other goals in life, right? So you got your bachelor's degree from East Carolina, and then you got a master's degree from Hampton. Let's talk about how important it is to have to make sure you get the degree.
Well, it was extremely important because when I was looking at colleges coming out, recruited by some colleges here on the East Coast. Visited 3 of them. But the reason why I actually chose East Carolina, being that I was a receiver, they were one of the few schools that were passing the ball a little bit, even back in the late 90s. Right. And I wanted to go down there. One of my high school classmates, who was a couple years older than me, Linwood DeBrew, played receiver down there. And I followed him down there. And it was when I got there, at first, coming out of high school, we all just wanted to play ball and think we're going to the next level.
Right.
But when I got down there, things started to change a little bit, and I realized I wasn't going to be able to do this forever because I'm 5'9", 5'10". I got receivers in the room 6'2", 6'3", and I'm like, man, I don't know if I'll be able to, unless God blesses me with a couple more inches in height, maybe I could have a better shot. But just being able to realize that football won't going to be around forever, and meeting some of the people that I met at East Carolina. Still, like I said, a relationship from being a student athlete as a young fella. Even when I got to college, I met more people that I call on to this day that are down in Carolina doing big things that I could lean on in times of gaining some additional information, or I need some help about when I'm going down to North Carolina. So it became more of a collective for me when I got down there to infuse not just being a student athlete, but being a student as well, because I realized I wasn't going to be able to do it on a high level for a long time. So getting a degree was important. When I got down there, like I said, at first it was all about football. My first semester wasn't the greatest semester. That could be a lot of stories for our freshmen when they go to college. But after that first semester, second year, my redshirt freshman year, that's when things kind of clicked for me in regards to knowing that, look, I gotta do what I need to do to handle my business. And we had study halls down in college. We had when you're on the road, your student advisor is out there with you. And I just wanted to make not only them proud, but most importantly, my family proud by getting that degree. And finished that, tried out for Jacksonville as a free agent, went through training camp, then went up to Canada for a little while. But when I came back, decided I wanted to get into the counseling field. So I went back to Hampton University, and that was made me somewhat think about wanting to go to an HBCU undergrad or how it would have been. But like I said, I won't trade them experiences in for nothing. And,
right.
and being an HBCU, man, and being a counseling program, that really certified a lot of what I wanted to do. And I was giving back to the young people through athletics.
Yeah, speaking of HBCUs, you went to Hampton University to get your master's degree. How important is the HBCU experience to the Black community? Because I think a lot of times, it gets get like the backdrop, right? When you look at it now, you're talking about athletics, everybody, the big talk right now is Deion Sanders and getting, him getting guys to come to HBCUs. Now Black Twitter is pissed at Deion because he ended up leaving. So how important is the HBCU experience in the Black community?
And like I said, when I got there, even though, undergrad and grad schools, two different worlds, two different experiences, I had an opportunity to work through the student union, to kind of help offset some of those tuition costs for me. But it like I said, man, it was nothing like my PWI experience.
Right.
And one of the things I know a lot of people say kind of detrimental to HBCUs is the financial responsibilities, and not as many may give back, or are they allowed to bring in the revenues like the D1 programs do athletically. But if I had a chance to do it all over again, I probably would have more highly considered going to an HBCU with some of the bonds that that just wouldn't be able to be understood unless you were on campus, and knowing the culture, knowing the vibe, and knowing the historical aspect of it. I was able to glean a great deal. Also, since I've been a school counseling director, we've been doing a lot with our students in regards to getting them an understanding of what HBCUs are all about, the tradition, the history, and partnered up with Antoine Bethea, another NFL vet that went to, who's actually HBCU Hall of Fame for Howard University. And what we started doing is he started doing a program where he would get 2 charter buses and take them up to Howard University every year. Since COVID happened, haven't been able to do it. but we're looking to get back to it. So we're just trying to expose our young people to as much of our culture as possible, and that HBCUs are a big part of our culture.
Right. And I was unfortunate to be able to attend a HBCU, but, obviously I had a lot of friends that attended HBCUs, and, we had long conversations all the time about the difference from, playing at a Penn State or East Carolina, or playing at a North Carolina A&T or Hampton or Norfolk State or, one of the HBCUs. And my whole thing, I was just having a conversation with some people online a couple of days ago. They were still digging into Dion, right? And I was like, look, the way, huh?
See, they're going hard at Dion.
They're going that hard at Prime, man. They're going hard. And my thing is, like, look, we need to support better, right? So I was like, I've been at a CIAA basketball tournament, or CIAA basketball tournament quite a few times, right? And you're talking about 250,000 people in town, everybody going to party. Nobody, the stadium, there's nobody in the stadium, right? So I'm like, right. I'm like, if a quarter of those people go to the game, you supporting the universities, right? So support the schools. And you don't necessarily got to give them, hundreds of thousands of dollars to support them. But if it's a game or something, go to the game and support. I was like, it's no way possible if Penn State playing that it ain't going to be 100,000 people in that stadium every weekend.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's the big thing about we speak to the support piece. Like, I'll go to Norfolk State basketball games. I go to Hampton University basketball games here around the way. And it's maybe a third pack in the games. Going back to when I was in college, one of the things we were doing, because, we wanted to get out of town when we could, we'd go out to Raleigh to go to Shaw University.
Right.
Go out to
A&T
out in Greensboro. We would go to all this, the local HBCUs in the state,
right?
Because we wanted to switch up our environment a little bit,
right.
And so, but now, sitting here, some 20 some odd years later, we looking back now and seeing why they weren't as attractive the most, because you go to a game, you want to see all those people in the stands,
right?
And the only time we really see those people in the stands at the HBCU games is homecoming.
At homecoming.
So, I mean, and slowly but surely, I still think it could shift for the better, but it's just being more consistent with the support.
Right. I agree. I totally agree. So it's kind of like, then when you do go at homecoming, it's more of a fashion show and nobody really paying attention to the game. It's funny. We joke about it all the time. The band get more acknowledgement than the team does.
That happens. That happens quite a bit. So,
man, I've been, obviously Norfolk State homecoming quite a bit. And I want to say right before COVID, it was more people tailgating than in the stadium.
Hey,
it was more people out there partying than in the stadium. But, the big thing that, they keep trying to tell people, you got to go to the game and support the kids in the program. Because if you don't, I was reading something yesterday. I think Norfolk State had 10 people that they committed class in football this year. 10 recruits.
I saw that. It was in the paper. Yeah, they had 10.
I'm like, that's pathetic. Like, you had 10 recruits
for a D1 program.
Right. I mean, somebody got to do better. It got to be something, some programs put in, or something need to be done to where we can actually get more kids to go out and look at them. Because there's a lot of kids out here that can play, and everybody can't play, at Penn State or East Carolina or Auburn or Georgia. So I'm confused on why, a lot of these kids are not going to HBCUs, because everybody can't go play at the big level, the Power 5 level.
And then the whole climate is different now, with the transfer portal and those schools, P5s, they're more so now looking in the transfer portal than they are looking for high school kids. So
right.
The point that you're making, I with all these kids right here in this area, I don't know why we're not getting more of those kids at those schools here locally. And hopefully we'll see some changes in that, because it's a strong legacy of athleticism here in this area. So
right.
that's be able to keep them home. I know some of them going to ODU now. Now that they're a D1 program, but it's a whole lot of kids in this area that could benefit from that one scholarship.
I agree. And like you said, I don't even think they need to go outside of Hampton Roads. I think there's enough talent within Hampton Roads between ODU and Norfolk State that they should be able to get, at least 10 recruits with their eyes closed. Right. I mean, because again, I know 3 or 4 kids right now down there that's seniors that can play, that have mid-level offers, and somebody like Norfolk State coming in and offering them, a scholarship. I think that'll go a long ways. But I think a lot of time too, the mentality of the kid today, they want to play at a big school, right? And it's funny because last summer, the springtime, I was up at Penn State. They do this Legends Weekend where they invite a lot of the former players up. And I was walking through the building, talking to Coach Franklin. And he was like, yeah, man, we're about to spend $30 million on the renovation. I said, for what? I said, the building brand new. What you mean, $30 million? He said, JB, everybody doing it. We got to spend the money. Or Alabama, Georgia, Miami, everybody's spending the money. So they got the latest, greatest, best technology, because that's what the kids looking at. They coming in looking at seeing what the facilities look like. And he said, you've been here. Y'all had probably one of the better facilities for a long time. And, you just got to keep spending the money.
Yeah, that's the case. I mean, I'm interested to see how, one of your colleagues, Ed Reed, going to do. I heard he just took the head coaching job at Bethune-Cookman.
At Bethune. Mm-hmm.
And seeing how that is going to translate into what the program can become with, name recognition and, hopefully some of his former teammates and guys can help throw some funds his way, similar to what Deion did. But I'm also interested to see how things go if he's successful. and
how long he going to be there?
Yeah, how long that'll take, because it is a challenge. The one thing, like we talked about with Deion, it wasn't going to be this one person that's going to change the whole landscape with HBCUs. But we going to see. Y'all safety guys, y'all do things big, so we're going to see.
And I saw that yesterday, and I thought that was interesting, because a lot of still a lot of people keep jumping on Deion, but I think he started something, right? So because right after he got hired, what's the boy name? Eddie George. Eddie George got hired, right?
Tennessee State,
at Tennessee State. So I think and with these guys, you come in with big names, right? Now they got the relationship with the big sponsors already, right? So it's a simple phone call. I think Deion had Walmart come out and renovate the whole stadium. $2 or $3 million is where they cut the check and pay for everything, right? Mm-hmm. I'm sure Ed gonna do the same thing. I'm sure Eddie George working on the same thing. But I just think those relationships and opening up, where since Deion went to, the HBCU at Jackson State to start it off, and I'm sure he wasn't the first, former player to go and coach at a HBCU, but he was probably the biggest name, right? And so, with the big name gonna come a lot of attention, right? And so, and I think right now with the NIL, the way it's structured, is almost an even playing field, right? So if I'm a corner, defensive back, or safety like the kid Hunter, why would I not go to Jackson State? I'm being coached by arguably maybe the best defensive back that ever played a game. So what can Nick Saban do for me at Auburn? He can't teach me nothing like compared to what Deion can teach me, right? And then Deion got the money, he got the relationship. So okay, let me get this kid a deal with Nike while he here, paying him $5-10 grand a month. Like it's even a playing field now.
I can only imagine how that would have been if it was like that when we were in college with money being thrown like that, because we were struggling to go get our little meal in the cafeteria before
right.
Before they close it down. But yeah, I mean, because I know Penn State, you guys have more of a tradition of sending those guys to the league. East Carolina, we may get one or two every year, guys, but you can see during that spring semester after their senior season how agents come in and throw a couple of dollars to those young fellas into their laps, and they driving around campus going to work out with their nice cars. And I can only imagine how it is now with the money being thrown to these kids. Like I was reading something about the Caleb Williams kid out at USC and some of the sponsorships that he already has. I mean, he don't even need to go to the league.
I was thinking the same thing the other day, man. Like I was reading something and it was showing kids on the transfer portal. And next to their name, there was a column, NIL value. And there was a kid that was in the transfer portal that had a $2.4 million value. I said, well, why is he leaving wherever he leaving? Like, I mean, it ain't going to go no higher than that. So why he leaving?
Yeah, it's crazy. But it's a new world, new generation. And, times evolve. It's just how we evolve with it is going to be
right.
the thing going forward, because it's here to stay now.
Right.
Now raising, my two kids, one about to be 13, the other one just turned 11. I'm just trying to figure it all out myself, if that's even what they want to do. They love sports now. But you know how it is. When you start getting money involved, sometimes that passion starts to dim a little bit. So we're going to see. We're going to see. Because we started off, we just did it because we loved it.
Because we love the game. Right.
Loved it.
Right.
Not to say these kids don't love it, but, throwing around millions of dollars, that love starts to change a little bit.
Right. I agree, man. And it's funny, man, because you see like kids in youth league getting college offers.
Yeah.
I'm like, how is that possible?
Man, it's a lot going on. It's definitely
how is that possible? How can you tell a 10-year-old and offer him a scholarship to whatever university in America? You don't even know what he's going to look like in 7 years.
And that's the thing, the adults are ruining it more so for these young kids on 10, 11, 12 years old. High school, they don't even really know the ramifications of it. It's the adults in these young people's ears. And it's some have good intentions, but for the most part, it's about what they can do for them.
Right. Right. And I agree, man. And it's sad because I think it's like, for us, like you said, we play because we love the game, and I know they love the game too. But at some point for us, it wasn't determined that it was business until later on. Right. It might have been a junior in college. It's funny because I remember talking to my mom my rookie year, and I got up early in the morning. She would say, "Where you going?" I said, "To work." And she was like, "Work?" I was like, "Yeah, it's work, Mom. It's practice, work." So going to work. And so she just laughed. I was like, it's a business. And I don't think, for us back then, we didn't really look at it like that until later on. Now they're looking at these kids like, how much is he worth?
That's what it is. They're looking at them like, ATM machine nowadays instead of what they are. That's why it's good. I preach to a lot of young people that you got to have people around you that genuinely care about what you're doing and where you can go.
Right.
Because, like you said, on youth level, you got these coaches from other programs. All they want to do is make their program seem like the best program by winning, and they recruiting kids early as 5, 6 years old. That's to come to be a part of their program.
Right.
And spitting sweet nothings in their parents' ears saying they can do this and can do that, and never even put on a high school helmet.
It's crazy, man. It's ridiculous. I mean, even the AAU circuit, man. The AAU circuit is funny because, when we grew up, and I was talking to D-Mac about this a while back, when we grew up, and that's how we all met. That's how I met D-Mac, right? So, Boo would go around and find the best players in the Hampton Roads area. It wasn't, all right, well, come over here and play. You got to pay $2,000 for your kid to come play. I'm going to say your dream, and we're going to see what happened. No, it was like, Boo went out, scouted the best players in Hampton Roads area, and he invited them to the team to try out. And now it's like everywhere you turn, everybody got an AAU league team. And it's like, I got friends that, from track to football to basketball to volleyball, and and it's a big business now. And they paying $5-10 grand a year to be able to be on that AAU travel league team or that baseball team or that basketball team. And I'm like, are your kids really getting the value? Are they really, because I think, if you ask most parents, they think their kid is the best thing in the world. Right. And that's why I don't coach no more. When I first got up there, I was coaching at a high school, Thomas Edison High School. And, down up here it was a little different because it's all politics, right? This kid, his daddy working on the Hill. I said, that don't have nothing to do with me. If he can't play football, I ain't going to put him in the game. I don't care who his daddy is. His daddy can be Obama. If he can't play football, he ain't going to get in the game. Head coach was like, man, we got to think about that. Like, nah, we don't got to think about it. I just thought about it. If he ain't good enough to play, he can't play. And I was like, and I told him, I said, that's why when we come from Hampton Roads to play you guys up here, it's normally we kick your ass. Right. That's normally why. And I was like, because down there, the guys got to eat. They trying to eat. And, if 11 guys, the best 11, they might go both ways. They might not even leave the field. Mm-hmm. And it's just, who hungry, and it's just different ball game.
Yeah, man. It's like these adults, man, they make it a lot harder than what it needs to be. Because, kids from 6 to 14, yeah, they understand losing and the pain that it brings. Right. But 30 minutes to an hour later, they playing with one another.
The same kids, right? Right.
Same kids, and it's they got social media now. Parents going in on each other, and you talk about the AAU stuff. The AAU stuff has just gotten crazy. It's watered down, if you ask me, because everybody is inviting anybody, any and every kid to be on their team. How it was with us. If you weren't at a certain stage, you weren't playing AAU.
You weren't playing. Right.
And you weren't coming out of your pocket $5,000.
You ain't coming out your pocket with nothing. Like, Boo was like, I got this. Just show up.
Yeah, get to practice. Sometimes you talk about Coach Fox, he'll get the van and go pick up kids, bring them to the gym, whatever. Right. And next thing you know, we're on a 15-passenger van going to Richmond, going to wherever, staying for the weekend. Right. And not putting the stress or strain on our parents for fun. So it's just, man, people found a way, unfortunately, to make money off of AAU, and it's just watered down, man.
Right, man. I remember many nights staying at Coach Fox's house in Williamsburg. Like, man, I ain't going way back on the Hampton Roads side, but I'm staying over here tonight.
Yeah, those are guys that took care of us,
Right.
Now, there's some young guys now that are walking in that same mode, but there's also a whole lot that just doing it for ego purposes.
Right.
This is why you always try to tell parents, let's be mindful of where you're sending your kids to.
Correct.
You don't have your kids' best interest.
Right. And it's funny because you see a lot of guys, like you said earlier, they more about bragging rights to who got the best AAU league team or whoever got the best Pop Warner league team. Like, you're talking about 8, 9-year-olds. Who cares? Teach them sportsmanship, right? Like, teach them sportsmanship. Who care about who win the game?
Man, you'd be surprised some of the stuff they got on these.
I can imagine. They probably betting big time too.
Yeah, because I stay away from all that.
Got to. Mm-hmm. Talk about sports. How has sports shaped you as a man, as a businessman, as a public servant?
Man, without what I learned as a young pup and being a part of a team since 6 years old up into early 20s, like I said earlier, I wouldn't be who I am today. It was the sports that taught discipline that came with it, the dedication portion that came with it, just being the determination of wanting to go out and achieve and working hard to whatever your goal is. Those were all attributes that were developed through being a football, basketball. Even when I when my high school coach made us run track, which I didn't really want to do. But these are all things that help mold us into the people that we are now and pursuing some of the goals that we have set out to achieve. Because, as a youngin', if you couldn't make a free throw, you out there shooting free throws until you got something that you felt good about and going back in the house. Football, all summer long, you grinding in the weight room, grinding out there on the field just to be in a position to go out there in the fall to be in a starting position. So these are all attributes that we learn that that's why I use all the sports that I can to these young people, because it was those mentors we had, those coaches that loved on us and told us what we needed to hear, not just what we wanted to hear. And this forming habits that we still utilize to this day. And I wouldn't be in none of these positions. And I, like the coaches I've had, they've had the biggest impact on me and shaped me to the point where I want to do the same thing for the generation that's following us now. So, the bonds that were established, the friendships, sports meant everything to me. And that's why I'm so passionate about being able to do what we're able to do and raising up that next generation, because it's a crazy world out there nowadays. And without some sort of structure and positivity, it will be even more of a challenge to get these young people on the straight and narrow, because we got to use what their talents are. If it's not sports, they got music clubs and programs and art programs, and we got kids that want to go into and this from the city aspect of it, in the position that I serve on. Kids that want to get into studio and do production work, and these are things that are also being taught in schools, because some of these kids, they get bored going to doing English and math and science all day long. So what can we provide to them to make them want to get up in the morning, come to school, learn what they need core-wise, while also giving them something elective-wise that they're passionate about. So for me, it was sports. For other kids, it may be other avenues, but it all has to be correlated, because if we're not, we'll lose a whole generation of kids.
Right, I agree. And like you said, back in the day, we had like vocational schools, like girls could go learn to do hair. Guys had a welding, right. And today, like, it's different because, technology-wise, so it's different. It's so many other things. My son, 15, just turned 15 yesterday. And he can get on the computer and design and go and put something together. And I'm like, who did that? He said, I did. Like, how you do that? It's funny because when I started doing the podcast, I said, man, I'm going to need you to edit my stuff. He said, all right, Dad, I got you. I was that'll take me 2-3 days to figure out.
That's why my kids now, they help me with the social media stuff and how to put this video together, put this. I don't even know how to do that. I still don't. So they do a lot of that for me as well. But it's, different times and being able to offer programs to these young people to continue to keep their curiosity at a high level, while keeping them busy in a positive manner is important. And going to, like I said, back to the city portion of what I serve, just being able to fund programs that are providing those opportunities and look at how we can streamline opportunities for the kids, because sometimes the cities and, municipalities make it hard for people that are trying to do right by the kids. Right. So it's a never-ending battle, so to speak. Right.
Speaking of programs, let's talk about the Pride program. How'd you come up with the Pride program?
Ooh, that was back in 2006, 2007. I started off as an elementary counselor, and I was the second black male to serve as an elementary counselor here in Newport News. Mr. Carlton Ashby was the first, and you had all these, for anybody who knows the dynamics of elementary school education, public school education, it's not many of us black males that serve in those positions. So you got kids going through kindergarten to 5th grade without having one black male educator that they come in contact with. And that plays a big part when you talk about representation. But we started this program, Pride, Perfecting Responsible and Intelligent Demeanor Every Day. We had a group, my first group was 23 kids from 3rd to 5th grade. And we did leadership sessions. We did we talked about careers, what you want to do when you grow up, and start talking about the pathway to do those things. We took those kids on college campuses. We took those kids on naval bases to tour the ships. And just doing as much as we can to expose them to all that we can. And like I said, it came to be just trying to figure out a way to get those kids that they weren't challenged in the sense of they were getting in trouble, suspended, but you could tell that they just needed something to help draw them to wanting to be educated. Going back to the topic we were just talking about, being able to provide opportunities for those kids. And that was a way I found that we could get those kids excited about being at school and using some of that leadership that they had, because they would have visitors come to the building. They'd be the first ones to go and greet them and show them around the building. They'd be the ones that ran all of our programs for the schools when it came to honor roll assemblies. We taught them how to hit a golf club. Now, I'm not much of a golfer, but we had a guy that would come in, bring his golf clubs after school. When in springtime, they hit golf balls. So it was just trying to serve the holistic approach of those kids, man, because school can get a little boring as a boy when you're just sitting in the desk and reading and writing all day. Right.
And I think it's just, exposing them, like you said, being exposed to more than just Hampton Roads or Newport News or Chesapeake, right? Taking them, showing them is more to it than just Hampton Roads, right? And I remember watching this movie a couple of years ago, and Megan Good and Tyrese was in it, and they was brought up in like Compton, and he was taking her to Hollywood, and she was so excited, right? And she was like, I'm like, hold on, what's she excited for? She lives in Compton, like she's 20 minutes away. But that comes to show you like how you could be so close to something, and when you come from this, situations and environments and neighborhoods like most of our kids come from, you look at it like, okay, now they need exposure, right? You just show them different things, to take them on trips, take them to HBCU visits, take them to college visits, period, right? And just take them out and show them that it's more to just Hampton Roads.
Yeah, just funny you said that, because coming full circle, one of our first college tours that we took the kids on, like I said, this was like 15 years ago almost now, was at Christopher Newport University, which is a college right in Newport News. Right. And a lot of those kids never even stepped foot or even knew about Christopher Newport University. So we took them over. They toured the college, toured the campus, went to a basketball game, ate in the cafeteria. That probably was a highlight of the trip, was them eating in the cafeteria. But years later, we now have a partnership with Christopher Newport called the Community Captains Program, which I was able to be a part of when I came on council here in Newport News, in which the city allocates some funds to the college. And what they in turn do, they have a program which they identify kids as young as their sophomore year in high school, first generation kids, minorities, and if they meet the requirements, got to have a certain GPA. You go through the 2 years, your junior year, sophomore year, high school, come over to the college once a month, and then they could come to Christopher Newport for a full scholarship, room and board, all paid for, if they complete the program. And we're in our second or third cohort now with about 30 kids that have been able to be in that program. So that's a full circle moment for me.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome to be able to follow, knowing what you have to do, put a game plan together, and knowing that you can go to school for free, because I feel like school in America should be free for everybody.
Yeah, I see some people. We talked about college. At the time, we're not thinking about tuition and all that. We had the full scholarship. Now, seeing that I have friends, colleagues who talk about how much they're paying back now, I didn't realize then how blessed we are now that we were able to go through that without having any financial debt.
My wife, she got 4 degrees. My sisters both got 2, and I just be sitting there like, I don't know what y'all talking about. Like, what bill? My wife like, I gotta pay this college tuition. Like, hold on, what you mean? You ain't been to college in 20 years? Like, yeah, it ain't paid off yet. So that's crazy to me, man. In America, when you got other countries like, Canada and different, and some other countries where college is actually free, and it's no way we living in 2023, about to be in a couple of days, and and we don't have free school.
Yeah. I know some talking things about, forth trying to rectify that, but I don't see that anytime soon. Unless
right. I'm sure it's gonna take a while. Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna take a while. Look what happened with free healthcare, right?
Mm-hmm. So still fighting about it, yeah.
Still fighting them, and I think it's big business for a lot of people, right? Even when you look at the healthcare side of it, you look at a lot of the politicians in D.C. A lot of them got their hands in the pocket of the big pharma companies, right? And the big, healthcare companies. So of course they don't want it to be free. They want us to keep dishing out all this money because it's putting money in their pockets.
Yeah, good amount too.
I'm sure. So talk about your time on as a city councilman in Newport News.
Well, yeah, this is 2018. Well, let me go back. 2016 is when I first got elected to serve on city council. 2018, I did run for mayor, came in second while serving on council, but then I had to go back 2020, get reelected again. So I'm in my second full term as a council member. Kind of got into it. My father, for years, was always one that was out in the community doing things for our people in the community. He actually ran for office 2 occasions, came up short, and just seeing that and seeing how he maneuvered through the community, wanting to be a part of something bigger than himself, and I didn't expect me to follow that path. But it's some of the things that I was already doing in the community, and people saying, you should go ahead and try it. I went out and was blessed to get people to support me. And now, like I said, it's my second term, and learned a whole lot. Learned a whole lot about how localities operate, when it comes to funding the city, budgeting and providing those resources for those tax-paying citizens and those in need. And it's been something that I cherish. It's rewarding. However, it gets a little overwhelming sometimes because of phone calls, text messages, emails. They're nonstop. But that's what when you get into this field, when you get into this endeavor, that's to be expected. Because you're representing not just yourself now, you're representing the 180-some thousand people in Newport News that we represent. So it's something that I've learned a great deal. And like I said, I'm just looking forward to doing what I can for those in our community who are sometimes underserved, underrepresented. And my big thing is what we're doing for those that are following our youth development piece. Because as an educator, as one that spoke so much about, student athletes and what they need moving forward, I feel I'm in a good position to help with what is being overlooked in those aspects. So I take it as a joy every day to be able to get up and have people trust me to represent them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially in our community, I don't really think we understand what the responsibility of a city councilman is. And not only the responsibility of the city councilman, but they also have a regular 9 to 5 job as well, and a family, most of them.
It's a few that are retired, and that's all that they do. But for the most part, here in Newport News, and I know some other municipalities they're full time, but here in Newport News, it is a part-time position, but it's a full-time obligation for what we have in services that we have to be able to be attended to. So it can become a lot, but having a good team, I got a good team that supports me in all that I do, and that helps out a great deal.
What are some of your initiatives as when it comes to city councilmen that you're pushing?
When I first started, going back 6 years ago, number one was the safety of our citizens overall. Because when I first got into it, it was after one of my former students had got shot and succumbed to his injuries. And there's a lot in the community going on. What else can we do about the gun violence in the communities? And that kind of pushed a spark within myself to get out and see what other things that we could do. That's why I harp on so much of the youth activities to try to keep everybody occupied and busy. Where they're sitting around and idle, that's when those
trouble
incidents and accidents start to occur. So safety was one of my primary initiatives. Another initiative of mine was our schools, being able to better fund our schools, our teachers, our programs for our students. So that was another one that I was very hard on as far as getting our team to put together what we can to help those in need. Then we also talked about not just our schools, not just our safety, but also small businesses here in our city. Anybody who knows anything about local government, one of the biggest economic drivers of any city is the small business community.
Small business.
And being able to have programs to help sustain them, get them started. That's what we're trying to implement. Pre-COVID, every year we would have a big small business seminar that we would host at different locations, hoping to get back to it in 2023 because we felt that was a good way to network, resource. Because oftentimes just getting their names out there to see what services they provide. And then last but not least, it was my 4S priorities. It was the safety, it was the schools, it was small business, and then our senior citizens. What can we do to make sure that they're still vibrant and acknowledged, and what can we do for them as far as any tax relief efforts in regards to the service that they have provided through their years of work. So that's what I started on day one, and still to this day are my strategic initiatives, and continue to push.
Definitely, and I think those are four awesome initiatives to be pushing. I think a lot of times with the seniors, they fall, to the wayside because, a lot of times, the kids, their family is busy. They put in a home or they home by themselves, and they really don't have anyone there to be able to talk to them or drive them around or just someone to talk to, right? And I feel like they sometimes get the bare brunt of minimum.
Yeah. And then, when COVID came a couple of years ago, that just, even though it was hard on all of us, it was very challenging for them when it came to, whether it was medications, whether it was taxes for property taxes and things of that nature. And just trying to figure out ways to kind of help offset some of their financial obligations, just due to the fact that, retirement, should be a time in which you shouldn't have as many worries. But for many, more so than not, it is more of a challenge now than it was while they were working, just trying to continue to make ends meet while still dealing with absorbent property taxes and appraisals. And we put some things in place to kind of help mitigate them with those challenges and some of the tax relief programs for our seniors.
Right. And that's a big thing, right? Just making sure they're aware of what's going on, and have the know-how to be able to complete the tasks and get stuff done. Right. So, man. Right. So tell me, how can my listeners and followers follow Mr. Marcellus B2 Harris and help with any initiatives that you got going on?
I don't mind sending my emails out, email information, marcellusb2harris@gmail. I get a lot of traffic on that email. It's real simple, marcellusb2harris@gmail. I'm also on social media, on Facebook, Marcellus Harris, Instagram, Marcellus Harris. And then what we're always trying to do is raising funds for our Tri-City Youth Foundation, Instagram and Facebook as well. What we're doing now, we're working on our capital plan, looking to raise $40,000 to help with some needs moving forward into the new year. And what this program encapsulates, we have football, cheer, indoor track, outdoor track, basketball, starting off with baseball in the spring. So we're trying to do as much as we can with the great staff that we have that always say that are full-time volunteers because nobody makes a dime, but it's all out of the love of youth development.
Of youth, correct.
Not just athletic programs, but we have family workshops about home ownership, healthcare, education. For our youth in the summertime, we have a reading program, a summer reading program for our kids. We have educational mentors that come in and do work with our kids with a partnership with Norfolk State. So we're trying to, using a holistic approach to make sure we're providing what we can in a positive light for those young people. So feel free, follow us, check us out, and see what we got going on down here in the 757. Because, like I said earlier, we just want to be that same adult that we had growing up. Because I know just how much they meant in my life and how it steered me in the right way. And hopefully it'll steer one or two of our kids in the right way as well.
I totally agree. And it's some stuff that we're working on. Trying to do. I wanted to get with DMAC and you too to bring it to Newport News, but we could talk about it offline. And to go help raise funds, donation wise, like Brandon doing like a 4K, getting having it as an event, right? Having vendors come out, have the radio station come out, have people register to come out and run. I did one or two up here with a nonprofit in DC, and it's big. They get the radio station involved, they get vendors out. So it's like a whole day thing. You can do a 5K, 10K, 3K, whatever you wanted to do. Just get people out and get them involved in the community and just, that's a great way to be able to raise funds for a cause.
I have to look into that because I've been hearing people who have those events outside, whether it's Virginia Beach, Richmond area, and they do pretty well. So that's
right. I suggest today I actually just faxed the form back to Chesapeake to reserve the date to do it in Chesapeake in May. So, but we could touch base offline and talk about it too. So, definitely.
Yes, sir. Yes,
appreciate it, boss. Always good to see you.
Yeah, likewise, man. Appreciate everything you got going on and reaching out to try to keep us in the know down here in the 757. So, definitely look forward to some more collaboration.
Definitely, man. I'm always gonna rep my 757, and it's funny. It's like you said, we met 20 some years ago, and just still, just building those relationships and still, involved in people's lives, man. So definitely.
Yes, sir. Without a doubt, brother. Yes, sir.
All right, man. Take it easy. Tell the wife, everybody I said hello, and I'll see you later.
Likewise, man. Talk to you soon.
All right, boss.